Okay, so future Trunks. Man's been confirmed for Death Battle. I'm hyped for that. I think Trunks is a very fun and interesting character that'll be a fun inclusion to the season. Yeah, we already had a Dragon Ball episode, but I get it, new movies coming out, and the Thor Vegeta episode was more or less made to coincide with the movie that was coming out, so yeah, it all makes sense. So I guess it does make sense why they're doing 2 episodes this season, and I, as a Dragon Ball fan, which I am, I know I meme about the series a lot, but I really do love Dragon Ball Z, I'm worried about Trunks. And it's not from a place of fear that they won't handle him well. I think they'll give Trunks his due dividends. My biggest concern for Trunks coming to this show is his opponent. Because Trunks and Dragon Ball characters in general have this weird place in verses, to where they will either stomp a fight or they will get stomped. So Trunks' opponent, to me, matters a lot. And while there are 2 very obvious choices, that being Silver and Chrono, I'm worried that Death Battle might take a less conventional approach. But to be fair to those 2 matches, I will talk about them because I am interested to see them. If we get Silver, I think that's fine. It makes a lot of sense. Sonic's getting a new game this year, and it would be a good way to like cross-promote. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Bowser vs. Eggman's the finale, which would actually correlate with the Mario movie and the new Sonic game perfectly. That or it'll probably be like next season's premiere. It's one of those matchups where you think you're always going to get it. But like, when it comes to Silver Trunks, it's a copycat fight. It's just Vegeta Shadow again, but like less interesting. Sure, with like a more modern analysis, like it'll be closer comparatively, most likely, just because like Silver will actually get planetary credit. But like, if this was like DBZ Trunks, then yeah, I'd be all about this fight, because unironically Silver actually kind of wins, which is funny. To be fair, it's all hacks, and Trunks could probably maybe overpower him, but semantics. Like, it would be much more interesting if it was just Z Trunks, but since we know we're getting Super Trunks, it's not a fight, it's a slaughter. With Super Saiyan Rage, Trunks should be infinitely more powerful than any Sonic character could ever hope to be. And with that, it's just over. The max you can give Silver is maybe Planet. Even if you want to give him the full Sonic 06 Solaris scaling, he still loses, and he loses bad at that. Being universal is nothing to a Dragon Ball character once they hit Super. It's literally nothing. So in that regard, yeah, if Silver fights Trunks, he's doomed. I'm curious to see how like they would handle Silver, especially considering Ben absolutely despises him. I'm curious to see if Wiz would have any animosity towards him. Besides that, I don't think there's that much intrigue with that episode. It's both time-traveling sons from the future, blah, 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 because Silver is heavily implied to be Shadow's kid. But semantics, there's not a lot there. It's a fairly straightforward episode. It's an iconic matchup, and I'd be down to see it, but I generally prefer if we got something else. Moving to Chrono, I'm not really sure where his series scales to, but from what I've heard, he just loses, so like, it's kind of whatever. It'd definitely be more interesting, and they're both creations of Akira Toriyama, or at least they're drawn by Toriyama, so semantics. But like, it would be a much more interesting and dynamic fight in that regard, and I think it would be very fun to see. Plus, that would give us a new series, which is what this season's all about. But after those 2 matchups, on the off chance Death Battle doesn't do either of them, there is one match that I think would actually be good, and then there is the cavalcade of absolute shit stomp that Trunks would be given, and the amount of characters he would be fed is ridiculous. Out of the fights I've seen, probably the best one out of his remaining options for a stomp is probably Cable. Though we did have Cable so recently, I absolutely doubt that this is going to be Trunks' opponent. There's literally no way. But if it is Cable, yeah, Cable definitely loses because he's like, you can maybe scale him to planetary at best. But like, you know, there's worse fates for just coming back to die to someone weaker than Booster Gold, which is funny. Booster Gold could beat Trunks in a fight, don't at me. The next few opponents I see are kind of just random matchups, but that has like some layer of possibility. First up being Link, which I get it, time travel, but that's like only relative to one incarnation of Link. After that is Mystery Dungeon Grovyle, because he time travels, because the Death Battle community will make any fight a thing if they have at least one similarity. Grovyle absolutely dies, and it's not really a matchup. I hear the Luminary from Dragon Quest XI, and while yeah, that's definitely closer, and they also have that same Akira Toriyama art style, do not do that. Just have him fight Byleth. There's literally no reason. Then ironically, the other 2 random matchups I see before the 2 that really worry me are Zero from Mega Man and Yu from Persona, which, I mean, should be no surprise that Trunks shit stops both of them. I mean, I've heard people argue like one very specific version of Zero could probably beat Trunks, which I won't argue or disagree with because I have literally no clue on what that is. But semantics. The 2 big ones, the 2 that worry me to no end, are him fighting Lucina and him fighting Shulk. Lucina, I'm terrified of because Ben last year said he really wanted to do a Fire Emblem character on the show because they haven't touched the franchise yet. And this season is definitely built with using new franchises. So I am as a Fire Emblem fan, pissed terrified that Lucina is going to be fed to Trunks. And to put this in perspective, you can scale Lucina at best to maybe like mountain or continent, and that's if you really stretch the Grima scaling. Dear God, Trunks could do that shit when he was a baby. This is not a matchup, this is a massacre. That would literally be the most disrespectful thing you could do to Lucina if you wanted to bring her into the show. There's literally no reason. But it's that little fear in the back of my head of, he wants to do a Fire Emblem matchup. Please don't do this matchup, Ben. I know I've said some things, Ben. Don't hurt me, Ben. And it's just the amount of just absurd stomp it is. It's probably the worst on any of this list, because I'm fairly confident Lucina's probably the weakest character. You could argue Grovyle. Ironically, Lucina versus that Grovyle is a better matchup, but semantics. Lucina has many opponents she could possibly face. Heck, I even offered one up in my Persona video. Go watch that. But in terms of just for Trunks, please, for the love of God, do not do this, Ben. Give me Dimitri versus Guts. Give me Edelgard versus Kylo Ren, which is some freaking reason a matchup that Edelgard somehow apparently wins, which I call just infinite bullshit on. How is she going to beat a lightsaber? You people are crazy. Lastly, Shulk. Trunks loses, which is funny. Trunks unironically loses to Shulk because apparently he becomes a god at the end of his game and he's like omni-powerful or some shit. At least that's what I've been told. Apparently he just straight up loses to Shulk, which is hilarity. And I would honestly prefer that being the matchup, because it's easily the most interesting. And who knows, maybe the Shulk winning thing, we've never really done Xenoblade before, so, you know, maybe some of those calcs are inaccurate. Maybe they're not up to par anymore. Who really knows? I think Shulk would be the most interesting matchup, plus it would bring a new series. I'd be down for Chrono or Silver if we get them. Honestly, I'd predict them more than I predict Shulk, but I would honestly really prefer Shulk. Simply because it's a new series, and Shulk's power set is well, it's not something entirely new that Deathwell's never tackled before. It's certainly interesting, and I think it could be really fun seeing how Shulk plays off Trunks. It's the matchup I definitely prefer out of the options that we're given, and overall, if we have to get a Trunks fight, I honestly want it to be this one. What do you guys think? Who do you think Trunks can be fighting? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Also, do you enjoy a single video for once in my life? Yeah, I'm gonna be doing these again. Just whenever I feel the need to talk about a topic, I'll probably do something. This video is mostly unscripted, rather than me like taking a long time to write out a complicated script. I was like, this is the kind of thing I can just talk about. If you guys want more videos like this, leave your thoughts in the comments. Tell me what you think. Anyway, this has been Tenton. Peace.